Hey guys, it's me Saran back with another video. This video is going to be about privilege, but it's also going to be not about just privilege. It's going to be about some other things as well. I got a lot of comments on my last video, yes, all white people, from black people and white people, kind of sharing a lot of the same sentiments. A lot of black people have comments like, oh, well, I'm trying to have these conversations with white people that I know, and it's really, really difficult, which I know, like, it's extremely, extremely difficult. Because for most white people, their instinct is to just push back, to just bury their heads in the sand, to pretend they don't know what's going on, and to really maintain their white fragility, because it's extremely, mentally painful for them to really understand and comprehend what's going on in terms of race and racism. And the reason why I feel like it's really difficult for white people to understand is because of privilege. They've been living lives of privilege where they've been insulated from any type of race-based stress, and it is really just unbearable for you to kind of, bring these ideas to the forefront. So, but I have a lot of people that are saying like, oh, I've talked with my white friends about this, and now, they're saying that they see that they have, an unconscious bias. They see that they hold racist beliefs, white supremacist, ideology, and they're asking me, what is the next step? And there were a lot of white people that were also leaving me comments kind of saying the same thing. Like, I totally understand what you're talking about. I never noticed before, but I see now that even I hold racist beliefs, and I would never say that I'm a racist, but you're kind of opening my eyes to the fact that I am a racist. Someone left a very funny comment saying, once I've taken the first step, am I like a recovering racist, like a recovering alcoholic or something like that. And saying just, well, what is the next step? What do people do now? I personally feel like what white people should do is use your privilege. Now, like I said, this video is going to be on privilege, but not just about privilege. One of the reasons, the main reason why white people don't like talking about race, as I said already, is because of their privilege. What is privilege? A lot of people seem really confused. I get comments all day long from people saying, well, I'm not privileged because I had to work hard just like everybody else. Privilege is not about working hard, okay? Privilege is not about working hard. I remember one time on Twitter, this was years ago when I had my first ever Twitter account. I got in this argument with one of my good friends. This a guy, a black guy, on Twitter because we were talking about internships. I said I felt like internships were unfair, and I think they need to do away with them because you can't ask people to work for free, especially not in today's economy, in today's, economic financial climate. And my friend had an internship, and he got offended. He said, well, internships are important. I wouldn't be where I am today without having an internship. And, internships prove that you're willing to work hard, and you're willing to do this, and you're willing to do that. And I said, that's well and that's fine, but an internship is a privilege because not everyone can afford to work for free. There are so many people that literally just can't work for free. They might have kids, or they might have bills, student loan debt, all types of responsibilities that disables them from working for free. Having the ability to work for free is a privilege. My friend got very upset. Oh, you're trying to say I'm privileged. I'm not privileged. I worked hard just like everybody else. I'm like, listen, no one's saying you didn't work hard. We went to the same school. I know that you worked very, very hard, and I'm not saying that you don't deserve what you have because you worked hard, but you have to understand that the fact that you were able to work for free for 3 years while living at home with your parents and eating your mom's food for free and having your mom wash your clothes for free, that is a privilege that not everyone is going to get. So not everyone is going to be able to have the same opportunities as you, and that is a privilege. It's a privilege. It's unfair, and it's a privilege. And that's the way that privilege works, okay? Whenever I make videos talking about isms, defensive people come out of the woodwork every single time without fail. When I make videos about racism, it makes white people uncomfortable. When I make videos about feminism, it makes men uncomfortable. Feminism, because you guys know how I feel about white feminism or womanism or whatever you want to call it, it makes men uncomfortable. When I make videos about colorism It makes light-skinned people uncomfortable. Every time I make videos about isms and about systems, it makes people uncomfortable. Why? Because all of these systems are built around concepts of privilege, okay? Privileged people versus non-privileged people, okay? Haves, as in you have the privilege, versus have-nots, as in you don't have the privilege, all right? That is the way that these systems work. They are systems of privilege. And the reason why talking about these things makes people uncomfortable is because it forces them to confront their privilege. No one wants to feel like they have privilege, just like my friend on Twitter, you know. No one wants to feel like they have privilege. No one wants to feel like they have something that they got unfairly, or like they have something that they didn't work for, or like they have something that they somehow didn't deserve, or like they have something that they somehow, you know, got from having a leg up on other people. Nobody wants to feel like that. Everybody wants to feel like it's an even playing field and we're all given the same opportunities. And if you work hard, you'll succeed. That is a bedtime story. It is a fantasy. It is a fantasy that we have been told since childhood, because we live in a racist, sexist, white supremacist, classist society. That is an element of classism. That is an element of, you know, capitalism. That is an element of the free market. This idea of, well, if you work hard, we're all in the same playing field. We can pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. Even though that's fake. It's fake. It's lies. It's not real. But people don't want to admit that they have privilege. They don't want to own up to their privilege, because drawing light to the fact that you have privilege also draws light to the fact that there are people that do not have privilege. Draws light to the fact that there are marginalized groups that don't have it, like black people, or, you know, like women, or, you know, poor people, or people with darker skin when we're talking about colorism. So you have people that will fight you tooth and nail to claim that privilege does not exist. You know, they will stick their fingers in their ears, la 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 la, and they will fight you. No, I don't have privilege. I have people that sit in my comments all day like, oh, well, I'm poor. I was born in a trailer and this, that, and the third. So how do I have privilege? Because you're white. Like, you have white skin privilege. You're going to have that privilege regardless of how poor you are. You're always going to have a certain element of privilege. So, but let's talk about that. Privilege is an unavoidable offset of our society, of our organized society, in the way that it is currently set up with these systems in place. Privilege is an unavoidable offset of society. Having privilege doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't make you evil. You know, it's not your fault that you have privilege. You were simply born into a society that places value on certain qualities. And if you have those qualities, you have certain privileges because of them. You were born into a society that places value on whiteness and white skin. So if you were born with that, you know, then you're gonna get privilege because you have that quality. You were born into a society that places a certain amount of value on being a man. So if you have that quality that you're a man, you're going to get a certain amount of privilege. You were born into a society and a culture, if you are, you know, black or Hispanic or Aboriginal, really anywhere all over the world, you're born into a society within people of color that places value on having light skin, on places value in being closer to whiteness. So if you have light skin, you are going to have a certain amount of privilege because you have that quality. Again, that doesn't make you a horrible person, a bad person, an evil person. It just is what it is. It just is what it is based on the society that we live in, the racist, white supremacist, sexist, capitalist, classist society that we live in. If you were born with certain qualities, you have certain amounts of privilege because we live in a society that places value on certain qualities. I really want you guys to understand that, because a lot of people seem really confused about how privilege works. That is how privilege works. Privilege is not about, you know, again, people say that, oh, well, I'm poor and I was this and I was that and I still had to work hard. And that's fine, but you are going to have certain qualities and attributes that are going to give you a leg up over other people. You didn't ask for it, of course, but it's there. I personally feel like the mistake that people make is developing a sense of guilt over privilege. They develop a sense of guilt over the fact that, you know, by an accident of birth, they just happen to be born with these qualities. They're guilty about this privilege. You know, we often say white guilt. and light guilt, you know? I don't know about male guilt, if that's, I doubt that's a thing. But, you know, people develop this sense of guilt over these privileges, so they deny. I need you to not talk about my privilege. We're going to pretend I don't have privilege. I'm going to, again, fight you tooth and nail, and I'm going to swear to the death that I do not have privilege because I don't want to admit that I have something that I got for no reason, really. Just like I said, an accident of birth. And I feel like this knee-jerk defensiveness is an emotional response and not an intellectual one. It's really not an intellectual at all. It's not logical, and people need to get over it. People really need to get over it. Get over the fact that you have fucking privilege. Like, okay, you have privilege. All right. You have it. Get over it. Get over it. No one's trying to say you're a bad person or anything like that. Like, that is the world that we live in. You have privilege. Own up to it. And use it, you know? Like I said in the beginning of this video, people keep saying, well, what should I do? What is the next step? Use your privilege. Use your privilege. If you are a white person, accept that we are living in a racist, white supremacist society that has, you know, imbued you with racist, white supremacist ideals, along with privilege for having white skin, and use that privilege. Use that privilege to spread awareness, okay? That is what people need to do. And I said the same thing in my colorism video to light-skinned people. I was like, you know, we need to make it in our own communities, black communities, just as an example, where colorism is a taboo. We need to make it so that saying you'd rather have a light-skinned girl over a dark-skinned girl is taboo. We need to make it so that talking about that stuff in music and on TV and all those concepts are taboo. We need to make it so that, you know, light-skinned people can say, you know, if a guy comes up and he's like, oh, I only date light-skinned girls, so I'll only talk to the light-skinned girl out of the crew, that the light-skinned girl scrunches up her face like, oh, you know? We need to stop giving these things a pass, because silence is being complicit. Really, silence is being complicit. Don't deny it, okay? Use your privilege to change things. Don't deny it. Don't feel bad about it. Don't feel guilty about it. Don't whine and cry about it like a baby. Like, it's very immature. Like, let's be intellectual. Let's use our brains. Let's use our logic. And let's use privilege to spread awareness, you know? Accept that you have privilege. Because what does privilege give you? Privilege gives you access into certain spaces where other people can't go, right? Use your privilege to get into those spaces where other people might not be allowed, and raise some awareness. Make people uncomfortable, you know? White people, when you're in an all-white space and people start cracking racist jokes, because I know what happens. Just like I said in my video, people love to pretend, oh, my parents were perfect, and I grew up in a perfect household that was completely absent of racism, even though, like I said in that video, I don't fucking believe that, because all white people fucking crack them racist ass jokes. Like, I know that it's true. You could be the one to say, like, the shit is fucked up. Like, the shit is not cool. Like, you have to make that a taboo, right? Like, use your white privilege. You don't have to feel bad for being white. Because I see a lot of people say that too. Like, oh, like this attack on whiteness and wanting us to feel bad for being white and blah, 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 blah. You know, why should we feel bad for something, for slavery, when we weren't even involved? Because you got privileges from that you are still getting to this day. So you need to use that privilege to spread awareness and help people, or else you are a part of the system. You are a part of the problem. And yes, you are a racist. Yes, all fucking white people. Don't feel bad for being white. Don't fucking feel guilty for it. Accept it. That yes, I'm growing up in a society that was built on racism, that was built on slavery, and now it's my job as a white person, I'm obviously not white, but I'm speaking for y'all, to spread awareness, right? Recognize that you benefit from this racist white supremacist system and do work to undo it, just like how we have to do work to build up our communities. Do work, son. Do your work. Use your privilege to raise awareness. There's tons of spaces where I, as a black woman, cannot go, that I will never be able to enter into because I am a black woman. But maybe a black male with his male privilege can get into some of those spaces. A white woman with her white privilege can get into some of those spaces. A light-skinned person with light-skinned privilege can get into some of those spaces. A white man with his all-encompassing fucking key to the city fucking privilege can get into some of those spaces. You can get into those spaces and say, listen, This shit is fucked up. Our society is fucked up. These systems are fucked up. And we are placing value on qualities that have nothing to do really with anything. Just the way that our society is set up right now, it's just an accident of birth. Oh, you were born a man? Oh, you got some privilege. Oh, you were born light skinned? Oh, you got some privilege. Oh, you're born white? Oh, you got some privilege. But use it. Don't feel guilty, because people get sucked into this guilt and they just don't want to hear it. Use it. Use your privilege. It's not enough. That it is the first step to say, okay, I recognize what's going on. You know, I'm aware that I'm a racist and I'm working to unlearn it, like I said in my last video. But it's the second step, if you guys really want to know, is use it, because silence is consent. White silence in the face of racism is consent. It makes you complicit in the system, and it kills. You know, they're saying that this guy, Dylan Roof, whatever, that his roommate knew that he had an idea, but he just laughed it off as old jokes, and I never thought he'd go through with it, and this and that, and, you know, gave him the benefit of the doubt because he is white, and that is a privilege, okay? And that silence makes you complicit. Even if you're not the one that pulled the trigger, you have blood on your hands too. Every time you let that racist joke slide, every time you know, let your boss say whatever about an applicant, every time you let that slide, all of that, these are all parts of a bigger picture that make up our racist white supremacist system. And y'all damn sure better believe that fucking racists are using their privilege to their advantage. When racists are the boss, when racists is the doctor, the lawyer, the judge, like as we're seeing now, they have a petition to remove the judge from the Charleston 9 case because he has had a history of saying racist things in the past and using racial slurs. These people don't step down. They don't feel any type of guilt. They don't let any type of guilt overwhelm them or consume them or any bullshit. They use their racism 100% to their advantage to keep Black people as well as other minorities out of positions of power, to lock us up in these jails. You know, they hire these racist cops so they can abuse their authority. And you have people that have their own levels of authority because their own various amounts of privilege, and they're scared to use it because they feel all this guilt and all this knee-jerk emotional reactions about how they want to deny. Like, don't do that. Use your privilege to talk, to open your mouth, to spread awareness, to tell people, and to tell people face to face, that is not fucking okay. That is not cool. That is racist. You know? And understand that privilege has nothing to do with working hard or any of that type of bullshit. Privilege is simply based on qualities that some people have and some people don't, based on, you know, an accident of birth, really, the way that our society is set up right now. So stop taking it so personally and getting offended when people say you have privilege and this is men, this is light-skinned people, this is white people. Instead, accept, again, I am privileged. I do have a certain amount of privilege. You know, it was given to me because of certain qualities that I have, but I can use this privilege to get into certain spaces and to be granted access to certain spaces where maybe other people can't go, and I can fucking combat this shit. Right? Use your privilege. Use it to raise awareness. Use it to fight. And for white people in particular, because people keep saying, like, oh, what is the next step after, in addition to, not after, what is the next step in addition to recognizing that you are racist, because you are living in this racist society that is imbued you with racist beliefs, and working to unlearn your bias. What do you do in addition to that? You recognize your privilege and you use it to spread awareness, to enter into spaces and to fight all this nonsense and this shit. Because silence is complicit and it kills. So that's just my video on privilege. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Food for thought as always. See you guys next time. Go nuts in the comment section as you always do. Peace.